I actually hate this house. I just feel dirty when I'm here. We grew up outside. We grew up playing in this grass and in the woods. You grow up thinking you're in this safe environment, in this safe home, and living this perfect life, and then you get to 25 and you find out you were poisoned.
We were completely oblivious to everything. It probably wasn't until the Warminster Naval Air Base became a Superfund site. That was the first time I realized that the water could be in jeopardy.
We were offered water testing, which we had done several times. And we were told, although the chemicals were there in the water, they weren't at a level to be concerned. A few days after the last test, they said, stop drinking the water immediately.
Warminster is lovely. It's such a nice feeling town. There are these, leafy streets you can walk down. It's really sort of idyllic. It's also, unfortunately, deeply polluted. And I think how polluted it is only coming into focus now that people have been exposed for their whole lives. So people who are in their 40s and 50s now are realizing that these lovely childhoods they had, playing outside and in their friends' houses, and sometimes on the military base that is just across the street from their homes, that it left them exposed and vulnerable and sometimes sick.
Right after I had had my third son, we found out that my oldest child, Patrick, who was 6 years old at the time, just getting ready to enter first grade. He was having migraines for the last few years, but they were getting more intense. He was having nauseousness, vomiting in the morning, and then having problem with his balance. And we took him to the doctors, and the MRI revealed a brain tumor. The doctors came in our room, and they started pummeling us with questions. Where do you live? Where did you grow up? Do you ever work with pesticides? Do you live near a farm? Do you live under high tension wires? And these are questions that I never would have even thought about.
And I was looking into what would cause kidney cancer because it didn't run in my family. I don't have any history of it. Don't have any history of multiple sclerosis in my family. So I looked into it and found an article about the chemical, the PFOA and PFAS, that was in fire retardant foam that's used at air bases. We were less than a half a mile away from the air base.
This is where they burnt the fires, the firefighting foams. It was a drill site. We would come when we'd hear the sirens and run over to the fence, and they'd be putting all the fires out. They did this a couple times a week, maybe 3 times a week, and it just was our entertainment.
When it really hit home and things really started to fall into place, where I just instinctively felt it really did, was when a neighbor a few doors down, who also grew up on my street, had a son who had a brain tumor. And I thought, wow, that's odd. Pediatric brain tumors are rare. So for 2 of us on the same street to have a child with a brain tumor, this is not normal.
A lot of people have moved out, but some are still here. I have another friend she died, Patty, of a brain tumor, but it started out as melanoma, cancer. Preston's, so many of them. This is my house that I grew up in, right here. Right there. This is my friend Brendan's house across the street. He also has a child with a brain tumor. He suffered great many losses to cancer. His mother, his father, his brother.
Military bases tend to be very, very polluted. The chemicals there, you see pesticides, you see solvents, PCBs.
I knew about heavy metals. I knew about the mercury and the lead and heck of chromium. We were exposed to PFAS, but we were exposed to a heck of a lot more. We haven't caught up with looking at singular chemicals and what the health effects of these are. We are far away from ever being able to study, if we even can, how these all combine and what the health effects could potentially be.
I've, since 25, struggled with cancer diagnosis and testing and autoimmune disease and other tumors. I feel like I'm in remission. What does remission mean? It means that I'm not actively fighting cancer, but in my mind, I fight cancer every day. It's always in the back of my mind.
There are hundreds of military bases where firefighting foam has been used. These chemicals have leached out into the waterways and eventually into the oceans. They're in all sorts of wildlife and people all over the world. And we're now realizing that they have a whole range of health effects. In terms of a cleanup, it feels too slow and too late. And I think especially to the people who are living with it.